I somehow managed to feel simultaneously blessed and cursed because of the existence of the most toxic fans in history. And the reason for that is simple. On the one hand, it sucks that they exist. Toxic people just ruin shiz everywhere. But on the other hand, once they exist, they're completely hilarious sometimes due to the sheer stupidity of them being as toxic as they are. Being that I've crafted a niche for myself, managing to be toxic towards toxic people, I'd like to think that for most people it manages to cancel out and I'm somehow normal, and that if someone actually thinks I'm toxic, they're the toxic one that I'm trying to out-toxic. It makes no sense, but that's the logic I'm going with right now to justify my toxicity, so we're gonna deal with it for just a wee bit. When it comes to the most toxic people in history, obviously, the first thing that comes to my mind is, anime fans, or fans of different video games or different pieces of media, that they are such fans of whatever it is. They're stan level, stan, stalker fan, to the point that they are personally offended and hurt when anyone bashes or critiques that piece of media. The reason why I mentioned this specifically is because somehow people become such a fan to the level that that piece of media becomes literally part of their own identity. And once that happens, if you're criticizing that piece of media, then you must inadvertently be criticizing them as well. So they get upset, and that, I believe, is pretty much the basic psychological reason behind toxic fans. Now, obviously, different stories touch different people on different levels and in different places. For example, a shonen story is more likely to hit someone who wants to make a name for themselves, and a romance story is more likely to hit someone who gets to the point that they want to settle down. Obviously, different people are affected by different things differently, because even someone who's primarily a shonen fan wants that aspect of settling down, so they will also enjoy a romance setting, and vice versa. So too, there are different themes in every video game you play, and being that everyone is in a different mental state and in a different spot, those games affect different people differently. This is pretty straightforward, and different people empathize with different aspects of different games, which makes them stans of different pieces of media. You see where I'm going with this, I presume. Now, here's where toxicity just blows up, because it all stems from the same place. You got one dude who says, "Oh, Demon Slayer's the greatest anime of all time," and then you have these other people who are like following One Piece for the last 20 years, and they're like, "Bruh, you didn't even watch One Piece. How can you even assume Demon Slayer's the greatest when you haven't read the clearly most epically drawn and written, world-building and character-developed story of all time? One Piece, a new chapter comes every week to grow the world further, and you're just here, someone with no life experience, that just praises Demon Slayer." I am personally hurt by this. And the more a series actually resonates with people, especially larger and larger groups of people, if it has more broad themes, like My Hero Academia and its idea of a society that accepts some people and rejects others based on superficial character traits that they're born with, that is a very relevant storyline in today's society where, unfortunately, discrimination is a thing that A, exists, and B, is talked about a lot. So being that it hits so many people, and it has emotional moments, it's so easy to become attached to that story, and then all of a sudden, My Hero Academia is the greatest story ever told. It's amazing. It's fantastic. And not only that, but if it doesn't do exactly what I want with the story, well then, let's send the writer death threats. Oh, is Bakugo not gonna marry Kirishima? Well then, I mean, there was no actual evidence within the story to presume that that's what would happen, but bruh, I lived my life shipping Bakugo and Kirishima. They were my babies! And all of a sudden, being that someone is so personally invested in the story, their own fan ideas become their own personal canon. So if anything shows up that might potentially damage that ideal, it's a physical attack on the mental state of the toxic fan. Now, talking about the most toxic people in history, I'm not necessarily saying it's people that are toxic fans of My Hero Academia, of anime, of media in general, but it's this whole idea of identifying yourself as an individual that is part of the greater group of, whether it's anime fans, whether it's Undertale fans, whether it's a political standpoint. Once your identity becomes part of that group, where if something bashes that group, it is a physical attack on yourself, that is toxic. I believe that that is actually a definition for how most people consider toxicity, because if you actually look up the definition for toxic, and I don't mean, poisonous, I mean like the more urban dictionary type of toxic, the type of toxic that's referred to as an adjective, well, I'll read it to you. Toxic is an adjective used to describe usually very negative person. Wow, that's a personal attack on me, I have to say. As someone who stands toxicity, I am offended that you would consider it a negative person. SMH my head. Anyway, it's usually a very negative person that bitches about everything. They spread unnecessary hate or talk shiz about others. You can meet these people in any online game community, and they are the main coin of online gaming. Wow. And then the example for the phrase they give, yo, Mike is so toxic when he's losing. Why'd you gotta be so toxic, Tyler? Please calm down. And it doesn't actually describe a definition for the word toxic. It's just giving examples of being toxic. Someone toxic is that he causes unnecessary hate. Or someone is toxic when he loses. He becomes so ingrained with this game that he's playing, when he's losing, he personally feels a sense of defeat, which is what makes him lash out. Now, I've actually given this a lot of thought because I make videos on different toxic fandoms of different groups. Definitely subscribe if you're interested in seeing the absolute worst of people on the internet. Oh no. But I believe this is more of a psychological underlying reason behind where toxicity came from and why it's so prevalent everywhere. Now, it doesn't only exist in online gaming, as Urban Dictionary says it does. It exists everywhere. It's gotten to a point that any opinion stated on anything is automatically gonna be met with toxic responses. I'll give you an example. I like One Piece more than Naruto, and I once said that on Twitter, and goddamn, the responses were a deathmatch. Naruto fans freaking out. Bruh, this guy likes One Piece better than Naruto. Did he see the art style? SMH my head. This is so sad. He has no idea what he's talking about, man. Nux is so fallen. This is big sad. Old Nux is dead. Rip F in the chat. Oof. Time to cancel Nux. Unsubscribe. And I get all of that just by stating an opinion about subjective pieces of art. Opinions have grown to the point that since people identify so strongly with different pieces of media, it's almost like the opinion becomes the individual. And if that individual belongs to a different segregated group than my place where I belong, well, time to destroy. I honestly don't care at all. I think that being that art is subjective and everyone comes from a different place and identifies with different pieces of media differently, obviously there are personal biases based on personal experiences. That's totally fine. That's great. And I think that's how it should be. In fact, if you were to actually go to someone and ask them, being that art is subjective, do you think it is okay to like one show over the other? I believe the overwhelming majority of people will say yes, of course, because on paper, people are logical. When it comes to just the actual mental calisthenics of the situation, I don't think we're gonna find any impasse. But if you phrase the question differently, do you think it's okay that I hate the anime My Hero Academia? Bruh, that's gonna start the freaking Clone Wars. It's essentially the same question, just phrased different. And once it's phrased in a way that you're opposing the identity of the person you're arguing with, all of a sudden, being that it's a personal attack, you're dead to them. And it's not just anime. That's obviously a stupid example of things. My editor, who's an absolute mad lad and that I absolutely respect to such a high degree, Core Review. This man is a beautiful man. This is a man that is so beautiful. He is linked in the description. You should definitely check him out. He makes great anime analysis content. I love him. He's awesome. But I was talking to him the other day, and we disagree on literally everything. I kind of feel bad that I make him edit my videos because a lot of the anime I love, he A, hasn't seen, or B, doesn't like. Black Clover is like one of his least favorite anime of all time. And I love Black Clover.
Also gonna throw this out there preemptively because I can already see the legions of comments espousing the greatness of the manga. I specifically tried the manga because I had heard it was better than the anime, and I still hated it. Sorry.
And on the other hand, Serial Experiments Lain is one of his favorite anime of all time, and I freaking hate Serial Experiments Lain. And while I have a good time arguing with him about this stuff, and boy, do we roast the crap out of each other when we talk sometimes, it's from a place of love. He's a kindred spirit of the anime community, and that's really cool. But it's not just pieces of media that I'm talking about. I'm referring to everything that people identify with. The most primary example of all when it comes to toxicity in the modern era being politics. People are so divided based on politics. It's pretty insane. At the end of the day, taking America as an example, I think everyone wants an America that's happy with each other. People don't want there to be chaos in the street. But being that the left and the right each have their own perfect ideal of what the world has to look like, fights break out based on differentiated political opinions literally everywhere. If someone says, I support Trump, all of a sudden that man is subject to absolute terror from the other side. And at the end of the day, I believe and yes, I guess this is kind of controversial, that definitely stems from an era of toxicity. When I speak to different people about politics, I believe that some of them are misguided, and I'm sure that they believe that I am misguided. There's so many different ideals and different ways to look at life, and that's all built up based on an entire life of past experiences where you were raised by a specific family. Either you were born in poverty or you were born in wealth. Either you live in an urban or suburban area. There's so many things that can actually change how you view things. The actual viewpoint when it comes to politics, whether you're on the right or left, I guess has some sort of justifiable cause, and thinking less of an individual based on his political leaning is exactly just as toxic as hating on someone if they like One Piece more than Naruto. Yes, it actually matters more in the world, but I do believe it is stemming from this same place of toxicity. Politics became the biggest source of entertainment on the planet. More people are watching political debates than sports at this point because politics is just a big fat sport that has a lot more on its shoulders than actually winning a trophy at the end of the day. It's almost like a sport where the stakes are real. I can't help but think of every big political event going on as one of these massive Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments with the fate of the world at stake. It's obviously on a much more real level, so I understand why there would be toxicity more prevalent there than anywhere else, and I can understand why people vehemently disagree with each other in all of these areas. But at the end of the day, becoming an individual whose identity is so entwined with the party they support, or the anime they watch, or the movies they're a fan of, that they are personally offended if someone else has a different opinion, that is the epitome of toxic, and those are the most toxic people on the planet. There are two reasons why I decided to make this video right now. I have thought of these things in the past, but I only actually put them down on paper to record these thoughts because of two events that took place rather recently, and it was a lot of fun. The first one was I just made a video, a 52-minute video talking about why I personally don't like Deku from My Hero Academia. A stupid anime! I mean, I'm not saying that the My Hero Academia anime is stupid, I'm just saying it's as stupid of a medium as anime to actually hate people over. I got death threats for saying that I don't like Deku. I'm obviously not going to show you the tweets or the DMs or the comments because not interested in doing that, but I'm sure you could believe it. Every time someone tweets without tagging me on Twitter, oh my god, I hope I go to the same anime convention as Nux Taku one day so I could kill him for that Deku video. And then I got tagged by a bunch of people in the replies. Yeah, that guy just took the biggest L of his life with that tweet because he automatically invalidated any opinion he could have in regard to a series that he's so bent out of shape that I personally don't like a character in a story, and I tell you why I don't like that character in the story. It's a personal opinion, and if you think Deku is anime Jesus, I honestly don't give a crap. And the second reason that I made this video now is I made a hashtag a while ago. Oh my god, they're both on My Hero Academia. I'm only realizing this now. When I was talking about the toxic fandom of My Hero Academia, I came up with a hashtag My Hero Acadumbasses, that I urged you people in the fan base, being that you're intellectual masterminds, to utilize whenever you see toxicity ever, so that if I'm ever bored, I could just like type in the hashtag My Hero Acadumbasses and then just see like a bunch of cringe. And it was fun. It worked for months. I was so happy it was my personal subreddit of cringe on Twitter. It was fantastic. And then of course, I all of a sudden got a bunch of messages from you guys saying, Nux, I can't do the hashtag My Hero Acadumbasses thing anymore. And I was like, oh, big sad. I guess the meme is over. Oh well. But no, that's not the reason. The reason why they couldn't do it anymore is because people who were posting the My Hero Acadumbasses hashtag were getting reported for abuse on Twitter. Twitter banned the My Hero Acadumbasses hashtag, even though the tweets literally said absolutely nothing. You got someone saying, bruh, My Hero Academia is better than Black Clover because Asta screams. And that's the whole logic behind that opinion. And then someone in the replies just answers hashtag My Hero Acadumbasses, and the world goes crazy. That hashtag got banned on Twitter because that is a hashtag of harassment. I think it's back now, but for like the period of a month, no one was able to use that hashtag, and it's hilarious. But anyway, point is, that's my more or less take on toxicity. And, well, if someone is actually of the mindset that they become so involved in a piece of media or whatever that they feel personally attacked when someone prefers a different video game over their personal baby, I find that some of the funniest shiz on the face of the planet. So, yes, that is correct. This is the reasoning behind why laughing at toxicity has become one of my favorite pastimes. A lot of you asked me how this got started, why I have so much fun laughing at it. And it's because the mindset is so foreign to me, yet it's something I so understand. When I see people fall down the rabbit hole, it's like the funniest thing in the world. 9-year-old Nuxanor, well, he liked watching fail videos. You know, people try to make cool flips on bikes and they end up smashing themselves in the nuts on guardrails or something. That was like 9-year-old Nuxanor enjoyment. Now I like watching toxic fails, because even non-toxic people, if you blast something they relate to, they go into like these bewildered toxic rage moments, and it's the funniest thing in the world. To be fair, I feel like real intellectuals, like people with PhDs in political philosophy, those guys won't get triggered over anything as petty as that, right? Of course not. That would be ridiculous. So my friend Animac from Anime Uproar has a PhD in political philosophy, and I am making that a meme because, well, the mad lad gets triggered all the time. You roast his waifus, and the man just freaks out. It's the funniest thing in the world. But that's like a knee-jerk reaction, triggered toxic behavior, and I find it hilarious. But it's the people that literally sell their soul to the Satan of toxicity. Those people, man, I could go for hours on end just laughing at those bozos. And I have to say, I enjoy it. So let me know if you're interested in future videos laughing at different toxic enclaves of Zawardo that I find on the internet. Please subscribe for future content from an individual who is so toxic, he recognizes his own toxicity, thereby nullifying it. Hell yeah, toxic to toxic people. That's my style toxicity, and I enjoy it. If you're not part of the movement, well, mad respect to you. An individual who isn't as petty as I am that likes laughing at this kind of stuff. Mad respect, but you know what? Being petty sometimes 100% worth it. So with that said, whammin' and gentle whammin', that is my experience, my analysis, my understanding, and why I take so much pleasure from seeing the depths of toxic stupidity. And with that, I bid you adieu. Please leave a like on this video because any toxic person does not like toxic people to toxic people. So, you know, I'm gonna get hate, but I always do. So, you know, just makes things fun, spices things up. Smash like on the video. That would be freaking awesome. Subscribe if you're new. Send this video to toxic people without context and see if they get the memo by the time they got to this point of the video. Link to my Twitter and Twitch in the description. Feel free to follow me there. Have yourselves the most wonderful evening, and remember to stay weird, fam.